goes against everything we think success looks like. So let's dig in and find out. To really get the society, you have to first understand the idea that powers it. Think of it as a kind of spiritual gravity, a subtle but powerful force that's always working silently to pull things toward balance and harmony, especially in a world that feels pretty chaotic. Now, the philosophy at the heart of this was, for its time, completely revolutionary. This wasn't about converting anybody. A 19th century mystic named Sri Ramakrishna came to a radical conclusion after actually practicing different faiths. He said that all sincere spiritual paths, they all lead to the same destination. This idea of universal acceptance, well, that was the seed that started everything. So, how on earth did this idea travel from India and take root in Portland, Oregon, of all places? Well, the story doesn't start with a big building or a grand plan. Nope. It starts with just a small, dedicated group of students who heard this message and felt it was something they'd been looking for. And this foundation was built slowly, with a lot of patience. It started with visits from Swami Vivekananda's brother monks, who came and nurtured this growing interest. And these students were serious. They actually petitioned the main society in New York, way back in 1904. For 20 years, think about that, 20 years, they just kept the spark alive, meeting in each other's homes. And then, the turning point. After all those years of quiet study, 70 people got together at the Portland Hotel and made it official. And that right there, that was day one of the society's 100-year journey. But, forming a society is one thing. Surviving is something else entirely. The next chapter in their story is just one of immense struggle. They were about to be tested by, well, pretty much everything. Economic collapse, social pushback, and a constant, desperate search for a place to call home. I mean, the challenges hit them right out of the gate. The Great Depression strikes, and at times they literally didn't have enough money to pay the milk bill. For 2 whole years, they didn't have a resident Swami. And get this, when they tried to buy some land, hostile neighbors actually blocked the purchase. But for every external problem, they had this incredible internal strength. No money? The Lord provides. No building? We'll embrace work as worship and just meet in our homes. They simply refused to let the idea die. And their journey was anything but stable. Just look at this timeline. For over 40 years, they were basically nomads, moving from rented rooms to halls to houses all over the city. Can you imagine getting settled, thinking you finally have a place, and then being forced to move again? It shows an incredible amount of tenacity. So, after decades of wandering, the story finally takes a turn. This is the part where the community's faith and all that hard work finally come together, and they get to build a permanent sanctuary, quite literally with their own hands. The first breakthrough actually came in 1936, right in the middle of the Great Depression, which is amazing. The society bought 120 acres of wooded land near Scappoose, Oregon. This wasn't just another piece of property. This was their future. This became their retreat, a place for contemplation, and finally a real symbol of permanence. Then, in 1968, after being uprooted one last time, they found their final home. And the original notes say it was a very dilapidated building. But where most people would see a ruin, they saw a sanctuary. The members themselves gutted the place and rebuilt it. The whole idea of work as worship suddenly meant hammering nails and raising walls. And out at that Scappoose retreat, they did something truly beautiful. They transformed their philosophy into something physical. Using wood from their own trees and simple hand tools, monastic members built shrines. But they didn't just honor their own tradition, they built shrines to the Buddha, to Christ, to Judaism, Islam, and even Native American traditions. They made their belief in as many faiths, so many paths, a tangible, walkable reality. Now, this is the part that's just incredible. They created this profound, sacred space with almost no money. Most of these shrines were built with a budget of less than $100. $100! This wasn't about wealth, it was about pure devotion, resourcefulness, and the belief that you can create something sacred from whatever you have right in front of you. So that brings us to today. After a century of trials, of tenacity, of literally building a community from the ground up, what is the legacy of all this quiet work? And what can we take away from their journey? From that very first meeting of 70 people in 1925, we arrive here in 2025, a full century of continuous silent service. It's just a remarkable milestone, one that wasn't built on rapid expansion, but on deep roots and unwavering dedication. So, what's the takeaway from this whole story? It really comes down to these simple but profound principles that kept them going. First, the real goal of life isn't something external, it's internal. It's about realizing a deeper reality for true peace. Second, all religions are valid paths leading to that same goal. And maybe most importantly, it's the challenge to see the divine in everyone and to turn every single action, from hammering a nail to helping a neighbor, into an expression of that. And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In our culture, where success is so often measured by how loud you are, how visible you are, what's the value of something that has quietly and steadily served its community for 100 years? What can we learn from the power of that gentle, unseen, and unheard work? It's definitely something to think about.
We'll start with Vedic chanting by Jyotima.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Ganana Tva Ganapatigum Havamahe Kavim Kavinamupamashravastamam Jyeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anashrunvannotibhissida Sadanam Mahaganapataye Namaha Prano Devi Saraswati Vajeebhirvajineevati Dheenama Vitriyavatu Vagdevyai Namaha Om Shanno Mitrasham Varunaha Shanno Bhavatvaryama Shanna Indro Bruhaspatihi Shanno Vishnurukramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami Rutam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tanmamavatu Tadvaktaramavatu Avatu Mam Avatu Vaktaram Om Shanti 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 Om Bhadram Karnebhih Shrunuyama Devaah Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraah Sthirairangaistuštuvagum sastanubhih Vyashema Devahitayadayuh Swasti na Indro Vruddhashravah Swasti nः Pusha Vishwavedaः Swasti nastakshyo Arishtanemiः Swasti no Bruhaspatir Dadhatu Om Shanti 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 Om Yaschandasamrshabho Vishwarupah Chandobhyodhyamritaat sambabhuva Samendro medhaya asprunotu Amrutasya devadharano bhuyasam Shariram me vicharshanam Jihva me madhumattama Karnaabhyam bhuri vishruvam Brahmanah koshosi medhaya pihitah Shrutam me gopaya Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Rama Krishna Arpanamastu
So as I have informed already, this is the third day of the third session. Previously, we have already have two sessions. One was Saturday, October 4th, 5th, and 6th, and the second one was, the first one was conducted by Swami Sarvapriyananda, and the second session was by Swami Aparanandaji Maharaj, and that happened on 25th of October. So we are very happy that today we have a scholar. Yeah, literally scholar, because he dedicated his studies especially for Oriental studies, and how he gradually drifted to Sri Ramakrishna. That's a great story. So first, Swami Atmajnanananda, he joined the order in 1981. He was initiated by Swami Swahanandji Maharaj, our legendary Swami, and who was the in charge of our Vedanta Society of Southern California, Hollywood. And he spread all over the USA. And not only in Hollywood, but Houston, Phoenix, then Dallas, Washington, D.C., then Ridgely Manor, where not, everywhere. And he inspired so many group of devotees. And they started first private center, then they request gradually to our headquarters to send a Swami. But here he is the product of the country, USA. After joining, then he was posted to our monastery in Trabuco. He was there for long years, about 15, 16 years. After that, he was posted to Washington, D.C. He got his brahmacharya in 92, and then final vows in 96 of sannyasa. But in the meantime, he worked without any tiredness, so untiring work there. Now we have a beautiful Ramakrishna temple also, the only temple. Here we have unique in Northwest, we have a unique temple. But there, Ramakrishna is worshipped every day. So he dedicated not only to construct something, and he has a skill in carpentry. So he has literally has done each part of it. And this is physical, but what he did, especially, to run an institution is not a joke, and especially spiritual institution. There are so much attractions. First, we have to spread the ideal, and it's very difficult for common people. And then some obstruction comes, especially those are fault finders, even they find faults in ideals. So Swamiji was a strong force to defend the Vedanta Society and its founder. He's a great force. So we are very happy that he's here today, and he worked on Jiva Goswamis, a great Tattva Sandarbha, where he elaborated that it is God who has various names. The sloka is from Bhagavata, but he explained it in his own way. So his work is based on that work, Tattva Sandarbha. And after sannyasa also, he traveled various places in India, in Bangladesh, etc., to spread the idea of Vedanta. So we are very happy that here he is today. So we welcome Swamiji, most welcome here.
So I'm very happy to be here, very grateful to Maharaj for this invitation. It's a very wonderful occasion, 100 years. And thank you for that very elaborate introduction. I'm not used to such a long introduction and with so much high praise and everything. Don't get your hopes up too high. Yeah. I'm a philosopher who's an anti-philosopher. I really appreciate the philosophical side of Vedanta, but also the heart, the feeling part of Vedanta. And Swamiji, he suggested a very interesting, actually two topics, which I'll try to weave together this morning. One has to do with this universal nature of Vedanta. And second thing is that because this is the season of mother worship, we started with Durga Puja and Kali Puja and Jagadhattura, and it goes all the way to the birthday celebration of Holy Mother. So I'll try to weave these two ideas together to show this universal nature of Vedanta and also talk a little bit about mother worship. So this is the formal title, Vedanta as the Universal Religion. Now the first question that comes up is, what do we mean by Vedanta? And I mention this because there are many different ways of understanding this. When we read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, very often he'll say, according to Vedanta, and for him that means Jnana Yoga. Sometimes he'll say, according to the Puranas, that means Bhakti Yoga. It's kind of code language that he uses. And we understand Vedanta as referring to the philosophy of the Upanishads. But here we run into trouble because there are different interpretations. We have three in particular that we know of, the non-dualism of Shankaracharya, qualified non-dualism of Ramanuja, and the dualism of Madhva, with many other schools in between. And this is mostly Jnana Yoga, mostly this idea that Brahman is infinite, absolute, impersonal reality. Then we find that what we call Vedanta will have to include Bhagavad Gita and Brahma Sutra. So now we're expanding the meaning. And as we understand it today, even what we find in the Puranas and later scriptures and different treatises that were written by Shankaracharya and others, all of this together we take as Vedanta. Now, there's an argument to be made that the Nirguna Brahman, emphasis on the infinite, absolute, unqualified, formless, nameless Brahman, that this will represent the best chance of understanding the universal nature of Vedanta. But even Shankaracharya, he'll establish his position by arguing against the other positions. They all do that. This is the nature of the acharyas. They want to establish their own philosophical school, so they have to do it by showing making a strong case for their own position and also trying to show that there's some faults or fallacies or inconsistencies in the other schools. So when I think of Vedanta, I think of Sri Ramakrishna. So, and the universal nature of it, because he accepted everything. He had that type of understanding that was all inclusive. So when we talk about the universal nature of Vedanta, I'll keep coming back to Vedanta through the eyes of Sri Ramakrishna, which will include all of them. But I'll go back to that first point. If we want to find a ground for universality, it will have to be that which is nameless and formless and infinite. If we start out with any particularity, if we start out with any tradition, religious tradition, philosophical tradition, that will say God has a particular name, has a particular form, has particular attributes. If we say that God has to be worshipped as Father, then those who worship God as Mother, they're either wrong or they're even heretics. It can be. So somehow, if we start out with the concept of of Brahman or reality or God that is infinite and absolute and has nothing particular within it, but yet can manifest as the particular in different ways, then we can see that universal allows all different types of interpretations and understanding. Universal doesn't mean everybody has to believe what I believe. Yeah. So this was always one concept, this idea that everyone could accept the same religion. It was usually not that every religion can be accepted within a greater religion, but everyone should believe what I believe. This was that idea, missionary idea, we can say, to carry one particular set of beliefs, that everyone should believe that. But in Vedanta, we have a superstructure, some metaphysical foundation which will allow us to see the beauty and legitimacy and authenticity and helpfulness of all religious traditions. So we'll see that this will help us understand this universal nature of Vedanta. Now, there are a couple of other things that are very important. There's something which we call yukti. Yukti means that it has to be rational. That we don't have a type of tradition that says you have to believe this even if you don't understand it, even if it doesn't make sense. It's written in our scriptures that God himself came out with this proclamation. It doesn't make sense, don't worry about it, take it on faith. We don't have that idea. So it's something has to be rational. As Swamiji himself says, the highest truth, it may be beyond reason, but it won't contradict reason. So this is that first thing, yukti. The second thing is anubhuti. It can't remain theoretical. We have to verify these truths through direct experience in our own lives, or we have to see that certain great souls lived in this world who verified them for us. So these are different standards that we have. How we can accept something as true. It has to make sense to us. We have to be able to experience it, or we have to take the word of those great souls who did live these truths and experience all of these truths. So we get to these different schools of Vedanta. I'll just very briefly talk about that, because they don't really contradict each other as much as they put a different emphasis on things. So, for example, all of the schools will accept the fact that Brahman can be seen as both nirguna and saguna. That Brahman, and this is of course one of the great points of emphasis of Sri Ramakrishna, that God is both with form, without form, personal and impersonal, that same reality, with attributes, without attributes. But we'll find that the Advaitins will stress this nirguna aspect of Brahman. And this saguna aspect, this aspect of Brahman as the creator of the universe, as dwelling within the universe, they'll accept that, but the emphasis will be on this infinite absolute nature of Brahman, whereas the qualified non-dualists or the dualists, they'll accept all of it, but they'll give special emphasis to the saguna aspect. That means that this aspect of Brahman as the creator of the universe, or even as a personal God that we worship, that'll be emphasized more in some of these other traditions. So we get these different types of illustrations. For example, this idea that Brahman alone exists. Yeah, this will be accepted by all the different schools, but for Shankaracharya, Brahman alone exists. That means this nirguna Brahman is the only absolute reality. Everything else we see is seen through this filter of Maya somehow, a very difficult position, very pure, philosophically pure position, but very hard to really comprehend. The qualified non-dualists, they'll say Brahman alone exists, but has some internal distinctions. So Sri Ramakrishna talks about the bell fruit, the very, very helpful illustration. We talked about this Friday night a little bit, that was this really Sri Ramakrishna's position, philosophical position, or is he simply explaining something according to this qualified non-dualism? According to this, is bell fruit something like a butternut squash, and it has a hard outer shell, and it has a lot of seeds in the middle. And if you ever cook butternut squash, you know that you have to get rid of the shell. You peel that off, and you have to remove the seeds, and then you have the flesh, and that's the essential portion of it. So Sri Ramakrishna and Ramanuja, they say yes, but you can't deny the fact that these are all aspects, or they all belong to the same fruit, which we call the bell fruit or butternut squash. So Sri Ramakrishna says that we can say that there's something special about the flesh of it, but unless you include everything else, you don't get the full weight of the bell fruit. So for Shankaracharya, full weight, the weight is not changed at all, whether the universe is there or not there. So we have our beautiful verse that this universe is infinite, this Brahman is infinite. You take one from the other, it remains infinite. So if everything is a wave on the ocean, the wave doesn't add to the weight of the ocean. Whether the wave is there or not there, it's only the ocean, same weight. They're looking at it from two different points of view. This is the main distinction that we'll find. And the dualists, they'll also say everything will come out of this Brahman. There's a very interesting interpretation of this based on this great Mahavakya, Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi, thou art that. So this Tattvamasi, this Tat and Tvam, if you take this as a compound, samasa, then you can take this Tat as meaning that you are that. Or you can take this Tat as meaning tasmin, you dwell in that. This will be qualified non-dualism. Or you can take it as tasmat, you have come from that. So this is a very nice way of taking that same statement, Tattvamasi, and saying that each of the great acharyas can interpret it in their own way, that we are one with that. This whole universe, everything is nothing but that Brahman. Or we can say that we dwell within it, like all of the seeds inside of the bell fruit, all of the waves in the ocean, they rest, dwell within that Brahman. Or like the sparks that come out of the fire. Everything goes back to that fire, goes back to Brahman, but now some separate existence is there. This will be a dualistic interpretation. Now, and all of these explain this difference between whether I am one with the Brahman, whether I come from Brahman, whether I'm separate from Brahman, what that relationship is. Now, for Sri Ramakrishna, he can very easily show that each one of these is a different point of view. This is the how Sri Ramakrishna, this is the universal aspect of his teaching. My understanding is that because he doesn't take any doctrine as any final ultimate truth with regard to reality, but as a particular point of view. When we look at the terms that are used for philosophy in the Indian tradition, darshana, drishti, mata, we have these different terms. It literally means a point of view. This term mata is very important because it can refer to a philosophical doctrine, it can refer to an opinion. That is, according to somebody so-and-so, this is their opinion. So Sri Ramakrishna looked at these different philosophical traditions from that point of view, that not one of them can claim to represent the absolute truth. All of them will be looking at it from a particular point of view. And he gave so many nice illustrations that you won't find the truth in any of these doctrines or dogmas, just as you won't find any water in the almanac, which will predict how much rainfall there'll be. He said, you can squeeze that almanac, you won't get a drop of rain. So Swamiji himself, he says, you won't have this ultimate experience of truth, you won't find it in doctrines or dogmas. That all of them will point in that direction. So when Sri Ramakrishna says that Joto Ma Toto Pad, we saw the reference to it in the opening video that you had. It doesn't simply mean that all different faiths and religions are different paths to God. It means that all of the different schools are also, one can follow the dualistic tradition and reach the highest goal, or qualified non-dualism, or Advaita Vedanta. All of them, and can take us to that highest goal. So he said, very, very simple two-word sentence, Maut Pot, that every doctrine is but a path. You won't, it's not that, what is the truth of Brahman? The truth of Brahman is Brahman. What is Brahman like? Brahman is like Brahman. Yeah. What does ghee taste like? Ghee tastes like ghee. Yeah. So everything else is our interpretation of it. So he looked upon this philosophy as kind of descriptive. Swamiji also, he said it's like you stand in the middle of the room, we see it one way. We stand in the corner, it looks another way. Or we're looking at the sun, we go very close, it's huge. We go very far away, it can be a little ball. But it's the same sun. And the reality is the sun and the experience of it. Everything else is helpful. It's allowing us to look at it from a certain point of view and to have a certain conviction about the nature of reality. But the experience and the real nature always transcends this human attempt to try to put it in boxes and categories and understand it that way. So with regard to relationship between the individual soul and the Supreme Soul, that Sri Ramakrishna, he always quoted this verse attributed to Hanuman. This is a very well-known verse that I think almost sums up the entire philosophy of Sri Ramakrishna with regard to what is the nature of the individual relationship, the individual and God. This verse says, Deha buddhya, deha buddhya. Deha buddhi means if I think of myself as this physical body. Tu dasoham. This is Hanuman. See, Hanuman came into this royal assembly, and Sri Rama asked him, how do you look upon me? So he gives this answer. He says, when I have this feeling, when I think of myself as this body, I have the buddhi, I have that feeling, then he says, tu dasoham. Then I'm your servant. You're the master and I'm the servant. Then he says, jiva buddhya. When I think of myself as an individual soul, then swadangshaka. Then you're the whole and I'm a part. So now we have this qualified non-dualism. At first is a dualism. And then atma buddhya. If I think of myself as the Atman, tvamevaham, you and I are one and the same. Then there's iti me nishtita matihi. Then there's matihi or mati. This is opinion. So this is my feeling, this is my conviction, my belief, that all of these, that I have the conviction that this is the absolute truth, that it depends. When I have that feeling of separation, then you're the master, I'm the servant. When I feel this connection, then you're the whole and I'm a part, and there'll be times when all distinctions will disappear, and I won't find any difference between you and me. So this is how Sri Ramakrishna reconciles the different positions with regard to relationship between Jivatman and Paramatman. He likes to refer to this verse of Hanuman. So if we start out with an understanding that Brahman is essentially pure consciousness or pure existence, that there's nothing particular in it, that it has no particular name. See, any religious tradition that puts so much emphasis on the name that we have to call it by that particular name, automatically, it doesn't mean that it's not a good tradition or a helpful tradition, but automatically it eliminates all other names. If we start out with this idea that it's nameless, then we can see how the possibility for all names, nameless means not only no name, but all possible names. If we say formless, the same thing, then we can see how the formless is the ground for everything that has any particular form. So this is that advantage, I would say, to this Upanishadic idea. Upanishad don't speak of God in terms of a personal God, but they allow the possibility of it. So this is how we can understand that the formless is the ground for that which has form. There was a conversation that took place between Sri Ramakrishna and M. M, the recorder of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Very often, devotees would ask Sri Ramakrishna, what is Brahman like? And he had a standard answer. He said, what Brahman is cannot be described, cannot be explained by the tongue. Mukhe bola jaina. So that was a standard answer. At one particular time, he thought for a minute and said, it's like water. Now, what is the nature of water? Is water formless? How many say? Is water formless? Okay. It's formless. Do we ever find it without a form? Huh. So it has that quality, because in the very beginning, when M went to Sri Ramakrishna, and Sri Ramakrishna said, this Brahman is both with form and without form, he said, how is that possible? This is a pure contradiction. Either it is one or the other. Either it has attributes or no attributes. But this is the point, that because water itself is formless, it can take any particular form. So Sri Ramakrishna, he gives that beautiful illustration. There's a pond, and there are different bathing ghats, and different communities will use these bathing ghats. There's stairs that go down, and you can draw water from there and go back and utilize it. So he says that there'll be the Hindus will use one bathing ghat, and they'll have a pitcher, and they'll take water from the pitcher, and they'll call it jal. Now the water has no name. We ourselves give a name to it, but for them they'll say jal. They'll put it in a pitcher. That means that formless water, it's taking the shape of the pitcher. If you could freeze it and break the pitcher, it would have the shape of the pitcher. But it never loses its formless nature, because it's water. And it can melt, and of course then it'll go back to the real, even what we say formless. If you take the water in the ocean or something, it has a form. It's flat on the top, and it takes the shape of the bottom. So it always takes some type of form. So he says that just because it takes one particular form in a bucket, and one particular form in a pitcher, and because one community says jal, one community says pani, one community says water, the reality is one and the same. It's all water. Because we're starting out with that which is nameless and formless, then it can be addressed with any name. It can take any particular shape. So Sri Ramakrishna, he gives all of these beautiful illustrations. He talks about this one man who comes into a village with a large vat of liquid. Nobody knows what the liquid is, but he says, you come to me and I'll dye your cloth any color that you want. So somebody says, I want my cloth dyed red. He dips it in that vat, and it comes out red. Then somebody says, I want mine yellow. He dips in the same vat, and it comes out yellow. So whatever color anybody wanted, it came out that color. Then one man is standing by, and he says, what color do you want your cloth dyed? And he says, I want my cloth dyed the color of the liquid in your vat. Yeah, and everyone laughs. Now, why does everybody laugh? What will be the color of the liquid in the vat?
No color.
It has to be colorless. If it has any color, then everything will come out that color. So the Brahman, it's not only without attributes, but has the ability to manifest in various ways. So both this nirguna aspect and saguna aspect have to be there. But if there's anything particular about it, say one faith tradition says God has to be worshipped as father, not mother. God is male, not female. Then everybody else is wrong. If we have this understanding that there's no gender to God, then either one is possible and acceptable and helpful. Then it becomes a question of what is most helpful to us. So when it came to how we worship God, what form we worship God, what name we use, As Sri Ramakrishna used to say, it's a question of taste, what appeals to us. So he has this nice expression, ruchi bheda. We all have a different taste. Some people like chocolate, some like vanilla. So, but it's all the same reality, so we can see it through that lens. And then he says, hajam shakti, but we have to be able to digest it. So it's not that we're free to choose anything, any religious tradition, that it has to be something that's suitable to us. And he says the Divine Mother knows best. She's the one who will give the food to the child that the child likes, but is also good for the child, that the child can digest, and this is why we have such variety in religious traditions. So this variety in religious traditions has to do a lot with just the nature of the longing of our heart, but also philosophically, the way we want to view this world. This is why this Jotamo Totopot, I take this to refer to not just as many religions, so many paths, but as many philosophical traditions. If we want to be a dualist, this can be what appeals to us and what's the best for us. But if we see it the way Sri Ramakrishna sees it, we won't argue with anybody else. That you're a non-dualist, good, that works for you, I'm happy. Yeah, because I don't take anything as absolute. It's all a path. It's all something that will be very helpful to us. Let me give one other example. Sri Ramakrishna asked one time, can anyone see light? Raise your hand. Can we see light? Is light invisible? Okay. Now, if we say, yeah, if light has a color, then it'll color everything. If it has no color of its own, then we can see everything the way, according to the actual color. You put a filter in front of light, then you'll see everything red or everything yellow. But because it has no color of its own, then we can see things as they are. Now, if we say that light is colorless and we leave it at that, then we're not getting the full weight of the bell fruit. Why? Because light contains every color of the spectrum within it as potential. So that same light, which is invisible, it'll pass through this prism of Maya and it'll manifest as all possible light. And all of those lights are visible because of this light of the sun. So the light of the sun, it'll pass through. And so this is how we see that nirguna saguna both two different aspects. Or as Sri Ramakrishna says, that the essential aspect will be that changeless ultimate reality. But we have to accept the fact that the potential is there. Potential is always there for that non-dual, impersonal, formless, nameless reality to manifest with name and form. So this is that creative aspect. When we get to mother worship, we'll see that this is the crux behind all of that. So this is how we'll jump from that first theme. This universality of Vedanta is somehow based on this dual nature. That if we say that it's Nirguna Brahman alone, then we can't account for anything. This is one of the difficulties that faces the non-dualist. If we start out with the concept of Brahman as infinite, absolute, transcendent, actionless, then how do we account for this universe? We say, well, this universe isn't real. But we see it. If we say that it's only a dream, then we say, well, how do we account for the dream? I know that a dream is just a dream, but I have to be able to account for that dream. There has to be some power of this sleeper that causes the sleeper to dream. Even though the dream doesn't have any ultimate reality, it has a temporary type of reality. So it's not absolutely unreal. And it's another very important point for Sri Ramakrishna, this idea of something being unreal. He always says anitya. Anitya. Sometimes in the English it'll be translated as illusory, but in the original it's always unless he's saying according to the Advaita, according to the Gyanis, that he'll always emphasize this changeful nature of things. So we have this dual nature of the Brahman, nirguna, saguna, both. And one of the nicest ways of understanding this is an illustration that Swami Swahanandaji used to use very often. He says, you take a woman, and woman, when the woman gives birth to a child, this woman becomes a mother. What is the cause of the motherhood of the woman? The birth of the child. Because of the birth of the child, she becomes a mother, but she's still 100% a woman. That womanhood aspect has to be there. It's always there at all times. So when Brahman manifests as this universe, it still remains. It remains as the infinite, absolute, unchanging reality. But now, that aspect of Brahman, this active aspect, this aspect which allows that one to become the many, that this becomes manifest and active. So he says that the power of manifestation remains in a potential state before creation, but is always there. So if we say that Brahman is simply nirguna, then to use that other illustration, we're not getting the full weight of the bell fruit. This is the way he explains it that way. So the Shaktas, the school that worships God as a mother, it will always take these two aspects together. That Brahman is both transcendent, and infinite, absolute, and unchanging and everything, but has that potential within it to manifest, to give rise to this universe the way the mother gives a birth to a child. If we analyze that relationship, the child is actually nothing but a cell from the body of the mother, that can separate and multiply and become a separate individual. So this is how we understand that Brahman is the material cause of the universe. So Brahman itself becomes this universe. They'll give that illustration just as the mother gives birth to the child. So this mother worship, it's taking two things and combining them. The Shiva Shakti. We have these two aspects. This is why we see, say in the Dakshineshwar Kali temple, that Mother Kali, she'll be standing on the chest of Shiva. That they come together. There are many schools within the Indian philosophy, Indian tradition. This Sankhya school, this Purusha and Prakriti. That they have to go together. Male aspect is always considered to be the transcendent aspect, that inactive, remember lazy, little inactive aspect, and the woman is the one who does all the work. That she gives birth to the child, she nourishes the child. The child has the relationship with the mother. Father doesn't even have to be there when the child is born. The mother goes through all the labor pains and does everything. So either they'll have these two that have to be always together or combined together, or Brahman has two sides, two aspects to it. So this is what Sri Ramakrishna, he says, he uses this term abheda. This is an interesting term. Either it can mean that two things are inseparable, or it can mean they're one. So Sri Ramakrishna uses it in both senses. If he says that you take water, and or you take milk, the whiteness of milk can never be seen separate from the milk itself. But they're not identical. They're two different things. One is a substance, one is an attribute. So it's used in that sense. Also used in the sense that they're not two separate things. There's not this impersonal absolute and Brahman. That they're one and the same reality. Not just inseparable, one and the same reality, that which we call Ishvara. That we call it the Nirguna Brahman, and that which we call Ishvara. There's not Brahman here and Ishvara here. This creator is here. It's only one. But he says when that reality is active, then we say This is a creator. When it's inactive, we say it's that infinite absolute Brahman reality. And for Sri Ramakrishna, that combined force, that reality, that power, that consciousness, that combined is what he calls Mother Kali. So he used to say to Narendra, because Narendra, or Swami Vivekananda, he was not very much impressed with this worship of Mother Kali. He used to say, how I hated his Mother Kali. Yeah, how I hated his Mother Kali. Later he said that this is my own personal fact. He became tremendously devoted to this idea of Mother Kali. But in the beginning, he would say, this is Ramakrishna, look at this God-intoxicated man, and yet he still goes there, pointing to the Kali temple. How is it possible? Just like an ordinary person goes and bows down before this image that's just made of stone, how is it possible? So Sri Ramakrishna would say to him, but my child, you don't understand. That which you call Brahman, I call Kali. So Sri Ramakrishna had that deeper understanding that which is nirguna is also saguna. That which is formless and nameless also has a variety of names and forms. And that which in itself may be nidhiya, actionless, has a shakti to it. So this shakti aspect, the female aspect, so we have male and female aspect. This female aspect goes by different names, explained very differently. Even for Shankaracharya, even this idea of Maya, even this is the female aspect, even the terminology, the grammar of it, that'll always be in the feminine. So even the Maya, which Shankaracharya, he does his best to keep it from becoming a type of attribute or Shakti. He's trying his very best to keep this Brahman perfectly free and pure. It's a very beautiful philosophy. But it's very difficult how this Maya can somehow, in an inscrutable way, allow the infinite absolute reality to manifest itself in an apparently tangible way. So how do we explain it? Maya. So what have we done? We've put a name on something that we can't explain. This is basically what we've done. So I have a few examples that I like to give sometimes. That a small child will ask the mother, why is it that water will freeze when the temperature gets colder and it reaches a certain temperature? So what does the mother say? Because that's the freezing point of water. Now, what kind of answer is that? You're simply giving a name to it. Or why does a caterpillar turn into a butterfly? A very simple answer, because of metamorphosis. Now, that doesn't tell us anything. It puts a name on it. So we say, how does the one become the many? Through Maya. And how do you explain Maya? We can't. It's inscrutable. The very nature of Maya is that it can't be understood or explained. Inscrutable. So, but this is still somehow joining this male aspect, which is transcendent and actionless and everything, with this other aspect which at least accounts for this apparent creation for the Advaitins. Now, for Sri Ramakrishna and for followers of the worshippers of Divine Mother, we call them Shaktas because of this term of Shakti. He says, don't be embarrassed by all of this. See, it's as if the Advaitin, it'll be a little embarrassing to say that Brahman has some power to it. It has some guna to it. It's essentially nirguna. We want to explain everything in terms of Maya, but even to explain Maya, somehow this idea of Shakti has to come in. This avarana Shakti, vikshepa Shakti, it sneaks in somehow. So the worshippers of the Divine Mother, they say, don't be embarrassed. This is a wonderful thing, that God has the power to create or to manifest, to transform itself into this universe without undergoing any change. Now, how can it do it? The sunlight goes through the prism. The sun does not change at all. On the other side, we have this whole visible universe, that prism is Maya, somehow. So the Advaitin has to accept this idea of Maya, and has to accept this idea that Maya somehow belongs to Brahman. But it's not a very happy idea, because this Maya is some type of ignorance, and Brahman is pure knowledge, consciousness, awareness, and everything. So they'll give this illustration, which Thakur also likes, that the snake has venom inside of it. That venom can kill somebody, the poison, but it's protected. There's a little sac around it so that the snake itself is not affected by it. So Brahman is not affected by this Maya, which somehow hovers over it, but it creates this whole universe. We have a very nice verse from the Viveka Chudamani that says this ocean of Brahman, that it'll break out into waves. Each wave, one wave goes up, that's a whole cycle of creation. A wave, then it goes down, that's the whole period of dissolution, then it comes up again. What causes these waves, he says this, the winds of Maya. Yeah, Maya Maruta Vibhramat, the winds of Maya disturbing the surface of this ocean of consciousness, causing it to break into these waves. And so this Brahman itself manifests as this universe. So we come up with all of these symbolic types of ways, because the ultimate final truth is that we have no idea. That, and Sri Ramakrishna, he says so many times, how can we understand the ways of this Mahamaya? So one of the terms, Mahamaya, is a great enchantress or illusionist somehow, that this Divine Mother is doing some type of magic. And this term Maya, the original meaning really was magic. That somehow, some unexplainable way. Magic means that we have no explanation for how something happened. How did they do that? How did you throw a rope up in the air and climb up? What's our answer to that? Well, it's magic. There's no answer, huh? But we take it as somehow some special power or something that can't be explained in any other way. So we're stuck with this type of thing. The worshippers of the Divine Mother, they say, no. Just accept the fact that Mother has the power to give birth to a child. That the nature of Brahman is both equally saguna and nirguna. And the saguna means this chit shakti, this power to manifest. Equally. And really this is the point of view of the Upanishads. That this creation comes out of Mother. They may not use the term Mother. This saguna Brahman comes out of Brahman. And that Brahman enters into it. So this is the other shakti that Mother is giving birth to this whole universe, but also entering into it as that consciousness, that light of consciousness within. And for those very special souls who have that special relationship, that she enters within as the doer, as the agent of action. This is how Sri Ramakrishna could say that the Mother alone dwells within. He would say, sometimes I see that there are two. Mother's there, child is there. Sometimes I say Mother alone is there. And why this Shokali Tomarecha, he would recite this Ram Prasad song so many different times, that everything is the will of Mother, that I'm just the machine, and she's the operator of the machine. I'm just the chariot, she's the real charioteer within. It's a beautiful song. It's very, very common. Very common, but we say it and we sing that song, and we're not qualified to do it. Only a Sri Ramakrishna, who is completely given up his ego and everything, can say, really, I act, only his Mother makes me act. So anyhow, this is all prelude to this theme that I want to develop, that there was a song that was written by somebody who's not well known, at least I don't know of him. We know about Ram Prasad, Kamalakanta, those two especially, and others who wrote songs about the Divine Mother. This is someone whose name was Manomohan Chakravarti. And a very beautiful song. I'll just read the first line now. Ma achin or ami achi, bhavna ki achi amar. So, ma achin, Mother exists. Ami achi, I exist. Bhavna ki achi, what do I have to worry about? A very beautiful, simple idea that the small child says, oh, yeah, I exist, I know that, but I have a mother. See, Thakur says the small boy is arguing with his friends and everything, and they come from a rich family. He says, I also have a mother. So, and then, Bhavna ki achiyamar. Then, so, what can I possibly worry about? I have somebody looking over me, protecting me, so nourishing me. If I call her, she'll come running. She'll feed me. She'll do everything. So this is a very beautiful song. But what I want to do is a little bit whimsical, but then you'll stick with me on this one, that I want to take these three positions, Ma'achin, mother exists, Amiachi, I exist, Bhavna ki achama, and I have nothing to worry about, and compare this, juxtapose this to what we call these three truths of Advaita Vedanta. Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya, Jiva Brahmaiva Naparaha. Brahma Satyam. Brahman is real, Brahman exists, Brahman is the only reality, something like that. Brahma Satyam. Jagat Mithya, that this universe is somehow false. And this question of the reality of the universe, again, the Shaktas, worshippers of the Divine Mother, they don't want to say that it's just an illusion, but Sri Ramakrishna always emphasizes, but it's something passing, it's something transitory. Yeah. So I've mentioned this many times, but to me it's very important. This translation of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna by Swami Atmajnananda is an absolute masterpiece. I have the greatest respect for it. One little point that bothers me sometimes is that anitya is translated as illusory. So many times that Thakur will say that this universe is illusory. The original will be saying that it's transitory. So if we take mithya to mean that it's just imaginary, then we miss the point. Mithya means that something is insubstantial, that something, or even that we live in this world in vain somehow. If we take this jagat and change it to samsara, that this life in this world, that the way this life in this world where we run after desires and compete with other people and feel separate from everyone, that there's some falsity to that. If we understand it that way, then it becomes a very helpful idea. If we just bang our heads against the wall with this idea that, is there really anything out there? Is it a projection of my mind? Is it like a dream? It's kind of a dead end for me. And Thakur doesn't encourage that so much. He says, why not say it is a manifestation of the Divine Mother? So it's both. He says it's Aishwarya. This is the glory of Mother. This whole universe, that it's real because Mother is real and this is her manifestation. But at the same time, don't get attached to it. It's everything we see is transitory. Everything is going to go one day or the other. So that's the Jagat Mithya. So if we take it in that way, so this Brahma Satyam, that'll correspond to Ma'achet, Mother exists, Brahman is real. Okay, so that's the first thing. And then this Jagat Mithya, this will be a little bit of a stretch. That this world is somehow illusory, or there's somehow transitory or something, will go together with why worry about anything. Okay, so that'll be the second part. And then this last part, Jiva Brahmaiva Naparaha. So what is the nature of this Jiva? So this is Amiyachi, I am, I exist. So what is the nature of the individual soul? So we'll see that the worshippers of the Divine Mother will have their own way of trying to understand all of these different things. So Brahman alone exists. The main distinction is, and it's what I referred to earlier, is that for the Shakta, the Saguna aspect of Brahman cannot be written off, that it's essential. That if you take a woman, the whether she has a child or not, that the essential aspect of a woman is that potentially she can give birth to a child. Now we know, of course, there are exceptions to things. I'm talking about just from a philosophical point of view, that has to be accepted as part and parcel. It's not that the nirguna aspect is real and the saguna aspect is only with some connection with Maya. No, the Shakti likes to say that this Shakti aspect is an essential nature of this ultimate reality, which we call mother. So it's not that mother is there and the father is there and they're working hand in hand. This idea of the Divine Mother she's both. She's both. The nirguna aspect, the saguna aspect, the transcendent aspect, the immanent aspect, all together in one. This is why Sri Ramakrishna could make that statement. What you call Brahman, I call Kali. Kali is just one of the many names, of course, of the Divine Mother. So this concept of Brahman, as I said before, we have this difficulty of how to explain the existence of this universe. We start out a concept of Brahman. It's like painting ourselves into a corner. You know, this, if you start to paint a floor, and you start from the outside, and you keep going in, and you find yourself in a little corner standing there, and the paint is wet. There's no way to get out of it. So we say we've painted ourselves into a corner. If we start out with this idea that Brahman is only nirguna, this nirguna aspect is essential, then we have to come up with this idea of Maya and different other types of ideas, which are beautiful. Again, this is a beautiful interpretation and understanding of it, but it won't appeal to everybody. This is why Thakur is always emphasizing this idea, that don't look at philosophy in terms of one is right and one is wrong, or one is better than the other. Some, of course, are more consistent. I'm not saying that everybody's ideas is equivalent. It's not a relativism, but we can see that some things will appeal to different types of people. But when we say Ma'at-Chin, that Brahman exists, it means Brahman together with Shakti. Then we can understand how the worshippers of the Divine Mother look upon this ultimate reality. So it's not that the Divine Mother is there, it's not Shiva and Shakti, two separate entities, but these two aspects, they form one whole. We have this, sometimes you'll see this imagery, this Nadanarishwara, that there will be an actual, you'll see half of the image or statue will be Shiva, half will be Shakti. So it's very interesting that we in Trabuco, how many people have been to our Trabuco monastery? If you go into the library there, one devotee, she did it's not exactly a painting, it looks like driftwood. And half of the face is Sri Ramakrishna, half of the face is Holy Mother. Yeah, it's very, very beautiful. Yeah. So it's that idea. Divine Mother is both. Both. The male aspect, the female aspect, the nirguna aspect, saguna aspect, impersonal and personal, all of these wrapped up in one. So this is that concept of Brahman. So Ma'at-Chin and Brahma Satyam. So this is the reality. We don't have to say that there's some Maya, some divine illusion that's causing this universe to appear to be real when it's not real. They'll say, why not just say that this is a power that inheres in Brahman to manifest this whole universe. So this is that first thing, that the worshippers of the Divine Mother won't simply say that this is a false perception somehow, or that we're seeing something which is not really there, that it's just something within the own mind. They'll accept the fact. But again, this Maya aspect is there because we get falsely attached to things. So we can accept that aspect also. Okay, so this power of Brahman is called Shakti. That's why they're called Shaktas. That they accept the truth, that it's not just through some cosmic illusion that this universe appears to be, but is not really there, but that this power, and it's really closer to the Upanishadic idea, that this Brahman projects the universe out of itself and then dwells within it, just as the spider will spin the web out of its own body. Yeah, we know that it spins it out of its mouth. The Upanishadic idea was out of its navel, but the same idea, and then dwells within it. So this Brahman projects this universe and dwells within this universe. So if this Brahman is real, Divine Mother is real, if this universe is a manifestation of Brahman or Mother, then the universe is real. But transitory, it won't always be there, constantly changing. Swami Atmajnanananda, who was really one of the staunchest Advaitins in our tradition, was heard to have said at the very end of his life, Brahman Satyam Jagat Satyam. That Brahman is real, the universe is real. How is it real? It is nothing but that same Brahman in manifest form. So Swamiji used to say, where are you running around to find Brahman? You're seeing it right now. Everything you're seeing is a manifestation of that reality. Okay, so now let's get to the second part, that Amiachi, I am. So what is the nature of the individual? So this again, we saw to be in the three different schools differ because of that understanding. Am I separate from God? Am I a part of God? Am I one with God? Now we use this word God. If we say with that pure consciousness or something, then we can understand a little bit better. Now the Advaitins will say that my sense of I, the sense of being a jiva, is based entirely on falsely identifying with these different covers that we have, like the onion, the skin of the onion, the different layers of the onion, that the one represents his physical body, one will represent the senses and the mind, the intellect and everything. You peel them off one by one, and what do you find in the middle of the onion? Empty space. You won't find anything there, that empty space. How big is that empty space? It's only very small because we think it's covered by the layers of the onion. Once you've removed that onion, it doesn't have any size. Zero. Infinite. It's infinite. Huh? This is one of the doctrines of Advaita Vedanta, that we look at the space. It's the space inside of a glass, and we say, well, how to measure the space inside? Forget about the water. How to measure the space inside? What we're doing is just what is the distance between one side and the other side. The space is infinite. That if we have this empty glass, if we move it from here to here, have we moved the space from there to there? It's not the space in the jar is in space. So this idea of the self, they say, we see everything particular about it because of the parameters, that which seems to be separating and dividing and defining it, but they don't really have the power to separate it. So Sri Ramakrishna, he accepts this idea. It's a beautiful idea that what is this ego? It's like a stick on the surface of the water, giving the impression that I'm separate and God is separate. You remove that stick, you see there's only this ocean of consciousness. So he'll accept that idea that I'm one with that infinite absolute reality. Now, the worshippers of the Divine Mother, they can accept that idea. When we do this worship of Divine Mother, this worship of Durga or Kali, there's one point, there's a meditation where we repeat Saham, Saham, Saham. Now we know Soham. Soham, we say, I am he or I am that. The Saham means I am she. The devotee, just for that one type of meditation, feels identified with the Divine Mother, no difference, no separation whatsoever. Now, what Sri Ramakrishna says is that, yes, this mind can reach a point where all distinctions disappear and I merge in the Divine Mother. He says that the Shakta doesn't care for that. That child wants a mother. Child wants to feel a little bit of that separation so that that relationship can be there. So he used to quote another beautiful Bengali song. Ami chini hawa chai na ma, ami chini khete bhalobashi. Mother, I don't want to become sugar. I like to taste sugar. So the Shakta will have no problem with this idea. Yes, philosophically, I can accept that. I can accept that my feeling of separation from Mother is because I identify with the body, I identify her with her universal body and everything, but ultimately I know that there's ultimately oneness. But I don't want that. I don't want that. So Sri Ramakrishna, he used to pray to the Divine Mother, that Mother, don't let me lose my consciousness and merge in this infinite absolute Brahman. I'm your child. I want to have that relationship with you. Knowing that it's a play, The mother and the child, they're one and the same. But still, so he used to say, keep a little semblance of this ego within me. So this is that idea of the ripe ego, the ego of the child, in order to feel that divine relationship and a very sweet relationship. See, the worshippers of the Divine Mother, there are two different types. The one is this worship of the terrible, this Mother Kali idea. For Sri Ramakrishna, it was the sweetness. It was the sweetness of the relationship that we see in all the songs of Ram Prasad. That, Mother, I am just your little child. Your red eyes cannot frighten me. Beautiful types of ideas. Recognizing this is that same mother that can create earthquakes and volcanoes and everything, but she's also the same mother who can soothe the little child. So I don't want that other side. I want that side of you. So now, Sri Ramakrishna, did he have anything against Advaita Vedanta? No, we can say that if anybody understood the absolute oneness of the universe, the absolute oneness that when the individual ego disappears, one gets merged in Brahman, that's absolute truth. He accepted that 100%. But living in this human body and having this mission to perform, that he needed to have that little sense of separation. So he used to say, addressing Mother, he says, mere knowledge of Advaita, that means those who go around saying, this world is unreal, why care about it or anything like that. He didn't like that idea. He used to say, I don't like to call this world unreal like a dream. This is all the glory of Divine Mother. So, mere knowledge of Advaita, I spit on it. Thou dost exist as long as thou dost keep the ego in me. This is quoting from the Gospel. The Paramahamsa is but a child. Doesn't a child need a mother? So this was a very strong conviction within for Sri Ramakrishna, that the sense of I, philosophically we can understand that it's based on all sorts of false identification. That the real self within is transcendent, it's absolute, it's just the witness, not judging, not doing anything, but because of this ego sense, we identify ourselves as individuals. He said, good, accept it. Accept it and have that relationship with God. All of them are possible. The feeling that I'm a servant of God, a friend of God, child of God, all of these. But he said there's something special about this idea that I'm a child of the Divine Mother. Why? Because of the innocence of the child. The feeling that the child has of absolute reliance on the mother. The feeling that whatever mother does for me is good for me. All of these different elements are there that lead to this idea of surrender. Very helpful for us in spiritual life. So, what is the relationship between the mother and the child? If we analyze that, we can see that it covers all of the different relationships of the different schools of Vedanta. So, for the non-dualist, that feeling of oneness, a small child, the infant, cannot really distinguish from its own body and the mother's body. They don't have that sense of they'll identify, it'll just be almost one. As the child gets a little bit older, the child will feel that it's not whole unless it's together with the mother. And then later, of course, there'll be this idea of separation but reliance. So we have all of these different ideas of this relationship and sense of I. So this ego sense, Sri Ramakrishna has a very, I would say, subtle and deeply insightful understanding of the psychological meaning of ego. very similar to what we understand nowadays, even from Freudian times, that this ego is not a thing. It's nothing but our understanding of who we are, the image that we have of who we are. This is what we mean by ego. So it's very fluid. We can identify ourselves sometimes with this physical body. That you hit me. Huh? You hit me. That means you hit my body. And you insulted me. That means that you insulted this personality aspect. So everything depends on how we think of ourselves at the time. So for Swami Krishna, he says, transform this ego and think of yourselves in a relationship with God. It's a very important teaching. He said we have to, he says, asray kortave, we have to ground our spiritual life in a relationship. That becomes our refuge to us. And he especially likes this relationship of the child to the mother. And this feeling of reliance on the mother and the feeling that the mother will do everything for us. So we have this idea that the mother alone exists for the child. We say Brahma Satyam. For the child sees nothing but the mother. Mother alone exists, and that the mother is the real agent within. We act as mother makes us act. And we have that reliance on mother and everything. So this will bring us to this idea of this world being false. How is that equivalent to I have nothing to worry about? So if we look at the classic example of the snake and the rope. We all know that example. Somebody's walking along the road and it's a little dark out. The sun is just setting. We don't see things very clearly. We see something on the side of the rope that looks just like a snake. And if we're bold enough, we'll go a little closer. See it's not moving, go a little closer. We'll see it's actually a rope. So this is one of the classic examples of this mithyata, this falseness of this universe, that it exists, but we're seeing it as something particular. We're seeing it as something through the eyes of Maya that we don't know what it really is. Now, what is the result of seeing a rope and thinking that it's a snake? Fear? Fear, yeah. This is the secondary aspect. Now, there could have been so many different types of examples given. We also have the example that somebody sees a stump in the dark, and the thief thinks that it's the policeman waiting for him. Lover thinks it's the beloved waiting. That we superimpose all of these ideas, but particularly with this idea of the snake, that why should I worry when I know that there's no real snake there? And as I said before, if we take this jagat and substitute this term samsara, it means this life of relationships, this life of give and take, this life of striving for things, this life of having desires, fulfilling them, having failures, having disappointments, everything that we call life, and which is filled with anxiety and worry. That once we know that everything is in the hands of Mother, then bhavna ki ache amar, what do I have to worry about? And then the next line is very beautiful also. Mayar hate kai puri. Yeah, it's only through Mother's hands, through Mother's grace, that I take my food, that I wear clothes, that I do everything else. So I have nothing to worry about. So this is that attitude of the worshippers of the Divine Mother. They develop this perfect reliance and surrender, sharanagati. So for Swami Krishna, he emphasizes this idea that like a small child doesn't have to worry about anything, knowing that the mother is there to look after the child, to protect the child, then the child has nothing to worry about. Most of us, that life is miserable because of worry and anxiety. And why do we worry so much? Because we don't have any real faith that we can transcend all of these things that these are temporary things, that these are things that only affect us because we allow them to affect us, that everything is a question of the mind and how we react to it, and that we can even look upon all of these things that we used to worry about as aids in spiritual life. So the devotee of the Divine Mother doesn't simply say everything is the will of Mother, but everything is grace of Mother. This is a very hard thing to do, but look upon all obstacles, all difficulties that come in life as grace, because they allow us to transcend. They allow us to learn lessons in life. They allow us to learn this sharanagati. They just hold on to Mother. Don't let go of Mother, that she'll take care of everything for us. So, bhavna kiyacham. So we get that last element. So, ma niyechen amar bhar. Mother has taken this burden from us. This life is so difficult because we feel we're carrying everything. The Swami Atmajnanananda, he gives another beautiful example. If you take a pitcher of water and put it on your head, we know in India many people carry things on their head. They even have these dancing girls who can dance with a pitcher on their head. That this weight of the water on the head, it can be very difficult. We'll feel that pressure on the neck. We'll feel that sometimes it is very heavy. It'll be unbearable for us. He says, go into the river and go 5 feet below. The weight of the water on top of you can be 1,000 pounds. We don't feel it. Why? The rest of the whole river, the whole water is supporting it and holding us for us. So if we can feel that, Mother has taken her burden upon her, then why do I have to worry? I have a mother. My mother is there. She'll make sure that everything is okay. Any difficulties I have in life, this is a lesson she wants me to learn. Some people may say that you're being unrealistic. It doesn't matter. It's all the question of attitude. If I say whatever happens to me is for the best, then it will turn out that way. I'll turn it into something that is helpful. So it's a beautiful way of living in this world, that I won't question anything because it's Mother's will. So Sri Ramakrishna, he gives the example of the kitten, that the kitten relies so much on the mother that it doesn't make even any effort to do anything, and it's happy wherever the mother puts it. Sometimes the mother cat will take it by the neck and take it and put it in the ashes in the fireplace. He says, bah, good. This is a perfect place. Sometimes on the master's bed. Ah, wonderful, the master's bed. It won't make any distinction because my mother put me there. So it must be the best thing for me. So this now we get to the real beauty of this mother worship, that we feel ourselves to be a small child and to have that reliance on the mother, to call on the mother. And the mother, if we're happy running around and having a good time, mother says, good. Let my child enjoy himself or herself. Let my child fall and scrape her knee and come running to me. It's okay. Let them do all of that. But the second that the child says, no, I'm finished with this play. I don't want to do it anymore. I only want my mother, and starts crying for the mother comes. So this vyakulata, this longing for God, can be seen in terms of the small child who gets separated from the mother. We've probably all seen, sometimes if you go to a shopping mall or something, and you see a child who somehow lost the mother and screaming and crying, where's my mother, where's my mother? To have that longing for that union with mother and that feeling of oneness with mother and being taken in the arms of the mother and disappearing in mother, becoming one with mother. So Thakur, he emphasized very much this attitude of looking upon God as mother and this sharanagati. Sometimes Sri Ramakrishna would say that this tremendous agony, longing for God is the final stage. Sometimes he would say this sharanagati. It's not so much tremendous sense of agony and longing for the vision of God, but feeling I lie in the lap of Mother. She'll take care of me no matter what happens. It's not for me to decide if this is good or this is bad. That Mother's in charge of everything. It's a tremendous way to bring contentment in life and no regrets in life, not questioning things that happen, that are all mother's will. So, Shokali Tomaricha, this was attitude that Sri Ramakrishna personally liked. He practiced all different spiritual attitudes, but generally he would come back. He would come back to this attitude of anuraga, this love the child has for the mother, this vyakulata, this longing for union with mother when there's some feeling of separation, and this sharanagati, this feeling that I've taken shelter on mother's lap, that whatever happens is mother's will, and that she'll look after me. I have nothing, there's nothing for me to worry about. So for me, this also has that element of universality, because the whole point of worshiping God as mother is that this ultimate reality that we call God, it's not just some infinite transcendent reality that we're out of touch with, but manifestation, everything is manifestation of the divine dwelling within all beings, dwelling within us, being there as ultimate refuge and support for everything. So this worship of the Divine Mother is so all-inclusive and so charming and so enchanting, and allows us to feel that we're small children and have that perfect reliance on the Divine Mother. So this also has that little bit of element of universality to it, because we're seeing God or Brahman accepting all aspects, impersonal, personal aspect, with form, without form, with name, without name. Because I call on God as mother, I can accept that anybody can call on God with any name that they want. But for me, that's the sweetest name. So this is that worship of mother worship that we participate, especially this time of year, in so many different ways. Worshiping Mother Kali, Mother Durga, Jagadhatri, and then we get to Holy Mother, who is the physical embodiment of that love and compassion that we associate with the Divine Mother, that universality, how the Mother accepted everyone as their very own child, irrespective of community or caste or country or nation or religion or anything. That universality, we're all children of the Divine Mother. So Maharaj, I'll stop here. I don't know how long I spoke.
So we have closing song, but before that, our Vice President will walk.
I think I spoke too long. I didn't realize.
So thank you very much for coming, Swamiji. Taking your time for traveling, seeing this place, visiting us. Please come again. This means a lot to all of us. So thank you for the audience for coming. It was a very beautiful morning. Of all the different places you could have gone, you wouldn't come here. And I really appreciated this teaching. I just hope that it will bring fruit in my daily actions and activities. So thank you, Swamiji, for organizing this, and Jyoti for singing, and everybody else who was organizing this. Thank you very much.
Just a little announcement before we have singing. As you know, this is a year-long program, so we have lots of program, and many speakers will come to participate. And after this, we'll have in December one Swami Vimohananda from Vancouver is coming. The date is Swami Vimohananda, December 6 and 7. 6, there will be an informal satsang, and 7th we'll have similar talk. And then Prabhajika Veda Prana would come in December 20th. 20th, informal satsang, and 21st will be the Vedanta and Jesus Christ. And Holy Mother, she also would cover little of Holy Mother. For Vimohananda, understanding Vedanta through Holy Mother Sri Sharda Devi, because next week will be the birth anniversary of Holy Mother Sri Sharda Devi. So the year-long program is on Vedanta, various aspects, and how we understand it through various means, various approaches. So this is, please, you are most welcome. Next is 6th of December. Of course, other programs will go on. Thank you.
Chamundai Viche Om Aim Hrim Klim Chamundai Viche Om Aim Hrim Chamundai Viche. May the Supreme Reality, our Divine Mother, protect us from all hostile forces. Chamundai Viche. Hold out your hand, snow falling down. I see the dream all so clearly. Right now you could be all I know. No gravity as we slide free. Time slips away and we don't care. Right now you could be all I know. Don't look now, but I think that's your cell phone ringing. Don't even look to see who it is, 'cause it's trouble. It's never enough. They always want more, and you know it. You know it. Yeah, you know it. It's funny how we can never see the magical now, the magic right now. Right now you could be all I know. Right now you could be all I know. Right now